same expressions if you are using, if you are assigning that expression or function to a val a, if we use lazy to get this executed only on its first usage. Okay, the same case, if I am passing those expressions as a parameters to another function, then I have to specify that same concept. If I have to get that lazily evaluated with just colon arrow. For example, what is mean by is here, forget about all this previous context, what it is here. Here, if I have def myIf and condition boolean, condition is a variable which is of boolean type, then part is a variable which is of int type, and else part is another variable which is of int. Okay, and its body is, if condition is true, if whatever the boolean value that you have sent that is true, then execute then part, then return that then part, this integer, else return that else part. Okay, and if I am trying to make a call to this myIf, println of myIf, okay, so in place of condition boolean, I'm passing an expression 1 less than 2. This is an expression, right? And another, even the function can be called as an expression, a function 1. Instead of passing an integer value, I'm passing an expression here. Like this is a variable then part. For then part, I'm assigning a function that returns an integer. So I can do that. Again, function 2. So in this case, what happens is, if you do this, before even myIf function gets called, all these three functions will get, all these three expressions will get first evaluated, meaning this expression will become 1 less than true, 1 less than 2 means true, and this function will get executed and prints 1, fun1, and 10 gets assigned to this place, and function 2 will get called and it prints fun2, and 20 gets assigned to this place, and then myIf will get called. Okay, but instead of declaring this function this way, if I just add then part colon arrow int, then what will happen is, if I declare this way, so condition boolean then part colon arrow else part colon arrow int. So condition, since I didn't use colon while at the time of calling itself, 1 less than 2, this gets evaluated and it goes inside that function. When I'm calling this, it simply this function will become, or if I, let me copy this out and I will show you this piece of code. Okay, in both the scenarios, how does that executes? Let me show you here. Okay, so if this is my typical, this is our regular way of defining our function, nothing new in this. Okay, so if we do this, and if I have my function 1 and function 2 here, so before even myIf gets called, what will happen is this will get called, evaluated, it gets true first, and this prints hello and it gets 10, and this gets evaluated and it gets 20. So that means it printed fun1 and fun2. Okay, but whereas if I use this, just an extra arrow, okay, and if I call this uh, same function, so in the first case this became this, and in the second case it will become first true, and these two remain as it is. And inside, while calling this myIf, these are the three parameters that it goes, and while executing that myIf condition, then there is a need for then part, because the received value is true. Then there is a need for then part. Then only the fun will get called, and it prints fun1 and it returns 10. Okay, that's why if you use this, only then part will get executed and it prints only fun1, which means you didn't let these expressions evaluated before their need. Only when they got the need, because of this, you stop the execution of one function completely, right? So your speed, your performance obviously will get increased, doubled, because out of the two functions, you stop the execution of one function. Whichever function is needed while at the time of dynamically calling based on the value, that function only will get executed. The second function will not get executed. This is when you are calling from a function. Okay, the same lazy evaluation concept only. If you are assigning it to a variable, we use that lazy keyword. But if you are passing it as a parameter to another function, we use arrow. Variable colon data type is common, that we know already. If you use arrow, that means that here this arrow does not mean that it is it's a function. It's just an expression, or it could be a function too. A function is nothing but a one form of expression.
So Shiva, will this add up any value? Like, will this reduce the processing time or something?
Obviously. See, if I show you this too, let's see. Let me define this. Let me run this. Just an example. Okay. So you are stopping your evaluation until its first use. Whichever is needed, that one only you are executing. Whichever is not needed for you. So if you are using obviously an if-else condition, only one is needed for you at any point of time. Okay. Now in this case, when I called this, see, it printed both the printlns, fun1 and fun2, and then it returned 10 because the condition is true, and then part which is 10. That's fine. I'm not worried about result. But it executed both the functions, even though there is no need of executing the second function in our case. So if you use the lazy evaluation, it executes only one. Sorry. See, it executed only fun1 because that is what I need.
Okay, yeah, makes sense.
So this is the advantage of lazy evaluation. Okay.